Deep inside of me, I didn't want to make mistakes, I didn't want to have failures, but I didn't want to live a life of not trying to do things that the Lord might ask me to do because I was afraid of failure. One night I get a phone call, and it's Paul Eshelman. He says, "Are you going to Moscow anytime soon?" And yeah, I said, "Yeah, in fact, we're leaving tomorrow." And he says, "Well, when you get there, go and meet with the Minister of Education and work out with him an agreement to do teachers' convocations." And I said, "Okay, what's a teacher's convocation?" And he gave me about a 3-sentence definition of a teacher's convocation with a morals and ethics curriculum based upon exposure to the life of Christ. And then he says, "Okay, Ray, I've got to go now. I'll be praying for you. Take care." And he hung up. It was less than a 5-minute conversation. And so we showed up in Moscow, called up the Ministry of Education, never met these people before, coming from an atheistic Soviet Russia. And we had a meeting set up, but got off the train and the streets were filled with paratroopers and police. And it was the day that there was a conflict on the streets of Moscow between the Russian president and the Prime Minister of the Soviet Union. And in that environment, Kurkin was there, and he had about 6 other men we'd never met before, and they were all mad. They were all upset, and they were all just intense. We sat down and then began our meeting to talk through the 16 points. And at the end of that time, Dr. Kurkin then gave me the opportunity to live out that commitment to never stop trying to do things the Lord asked us to do because of concerns of how I would feel if there was a mistake or a failure. And this is a very stern man, one of the most closed, stern faces I've ever dealt with in my life. And Minister Kurkin pulled that paper in front of him, looked down through it, and then he said, "Okay, number 1, no. Number 2, no." And he read through all 16 points and said no at every point. I said, "Well, I don't understand." And he goes like this. And he does it again. So when I turn around in the direction that he was kind of giving these nonverbals, and we look out the windows behind us, and the inner courtyard of the Ministry of Education is occupied, I've been in the Army, I know what this looks like, by a battalion-sized command post by the paratroopers of the Soviet Union. And I turned around, and at that point I thought, okay, wow, okay, Lord, I don't know what I should say, and I don't know what's going to open or close this door. Put your words in my mouth, please. So I looked up at all of these men and Dr. Kurkin, and I said, "We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to be happening, but we care about you, and I just pray that God would take care of each one of you. We just are asking God to watch over you and take care of you." And then I stopped and just waited, and there was a fairly long pause, and then Minister Kurkin reaches his hand over, grabs the paper, and slides it back over in front of him. He says, "Number 1, yes. Number 2, yes." And he went down through all 16 and said yes to every one of them, and only asked for changes in the details on 2 of them. And it was just great to watch the Lord take a situation where you had no control and this thing could go either way, but even if it looks impossible, you turn it over to the Lord, and then you let Him put His words in your mouth, and you just represent Him. And as a result of that, there's ministry today still going on. Tens of thousands of teachers have been trained. Thousands and thousands of them have met the Lord. There's a Russian-wide 30,000 plus members Christian Teachers Association today because of just being willing to open your mouth and let the Lord do what He wants done, and not be afraid of failure. Pray, talk to the Lord about it, and turn the Lord loose.